Hi everyone, my name is Owen Magabinawa and welcome to HYVA. And on this blog, I go out there looking for successful entrepreneurs to come on this show and so we can learn something about them and also learn about how exactly they stay successful in their business, and we can take the ideas and implement in our businesses as well. And today I have Judy Oberman from sellinginskirts.com, actually sellinginskirt.com. And you know what, Judy, why don't I let you make the better introduction than I did? Let's get started. Introduce yourself to my community and we can get started from there.
Hi, everybody. My name is Judy Hoberman. The name of my company is Selling in a Skirt. My website is sellinginskirt.com, and I do all kinds of sales training for men and for women.
Definitely. And one of the reasons why I was interested in interviewing you is that I figured when you say selling in a skirt, I'm thinking you're saying that there's a difference between the way men actually engage in business and and basically sell their products and services, comparing that to how women do it. And I want to really dive into that in this interview and learn, maybe as guys we can borrow some ideas from ladies on how you guys stay successful as well. So tell me what that is.
Well, it's a funny thing that you said that, because this doesn't only work in business, it also translates into your personal life, believe it or not. Yeah. Because a very profound statement I'll make is that men and women are different. Period. End of discussion. They're just different. And so what I try to do is I try to explain the differences in the two genders, whether it's in communication and whether it's asking questions or listening, or in any form of the sales process, whether you are the seller or the buyer, there's going to be differences. And that's actually what I talk about as far as how to use these differences. And instead of saying that they're going to be liabilities, they're actually assets if you understand how to use the differences.
So let's dive into that, because for me, I'm always trying to learn, new ways of, getting stuff done, especially in business. And so from the side of the woman, you say that there's a difference in way the sales cycle goes through. So let's go into some more details on that as well.
Okay, well, to start with, men are transactional, meaning that they like to get the deal done and then they build a relationship. Women do it exactly the opposite. They build a relationship first, and then the close of the deal is a natural progression of the process. Because when you build a relationship and you ask questions, then everything else just falls into place. So it's a very big difference as far as how men and women do business. But I do want to say up front that not all men are transactional and not all women do relationships. This is a generalization, but it happens 9 times out of 10.
And so when you say they make relationships, I'm thinking like when they start the process of engaging with a new client or a new prospect, it's not just try to drive them down to the sale immediately. It's trying to go through maybe kind of questions as to what their needs are and really trying to figure out where exactly they're in their business and how you can provide a solution for them. Is that what you
Exactly.
do?
Exactly. What you're going to do is you're going to ask enough questions that are going to elicit the responses that you need in order to come up with a solution that's mutually beneficial to both of you. You're going to ask, some simple questions, like a close-ended question, like, are you looking for this or this? Multiple choice, or when would you need this by? Something where you're just going to gather information. It's typically more a male trait. A female trait is more the open-ended, where you get the client to start talking about what's important to them and painting them in that picture. So if you're selling a product to a female, it's going to incorporate everybody in her life that's going to be affected by this product. So you have to ask the questions about how does this relate to yourself, your family, your friends, whatever it is, and paint her in that picture. And she will start to have that relationship with you because she believes that you actually care about her.
Definitely. And so you said the first step is creating that relationship with them, especially in the sales cycle. So walk us, what's the next process in this?
Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to build a little bit of rapport. That's all part of the sales process. The second step is going to be asking the questions. The third step is going to be, guess what? Now you have to listen to what she said. Because if you don't listen, then asking questions is just a waste of time. And then once you answer all the questions and you listen to what it's important to her, you're going to ask her one more question. Is there anything else? And sometimes a man will be, oh my God, you just opened up Pandora's box, because now there could be a whole litany of issues. But you know what? In sales, if you get all of those objections out up front, then everything else just happens naturally. So you actually close the deal without even having to, quote unquote, close the deal, because it just happens.
But then, I mean, sometimes I might be thinking, spending that time asking all these many questions, how do you even know if this person is even the right person to spending the time with in the first place? Because you can just go hours and hours. This is I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here and say, okay, trying to view from another person's perspective and say you just spend all that time talking with this person and not really being able to hit on the nail if this person is the right person for you to be dealing with. How do you get past that challenge in the first place?
Well, you never know if anybody's going to be the right person. Even if somebody hands you a referral and say, just go and sell them, you still have to go through the process. And there could be a reason why they don't buy something from you. But in reality, what happens is if this person is not the right person, you still have built a relationship with them. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to say, look, I can't use what you have, but my sister can, or my cousin can, or my brother can. And they're going to start referring people to you because women will tell everybody if they like an experience that they've had. So if for the sake of argument, if I was selling you a product and you said to me, you know what, it's too expensive, I really can't do it now, it's not the right time, whatever the reason is, you still won't be comfortable with me because I've spent this time with you. Is it a waste of time? I personally don't think so, because now you might say to me, maybe in 6 months this will be good for me. But right now, my sister needs this, exactly what you just told me. And so I've got a referral from you. I never believe that anything is a waste of time. There's a reason why you're there. So the person may or may not be a client today, but they will call you back tomorrow or the next day or 6 months from now.
Definitely. And I see that point too, because just for the mere fact you've created a relationship, even though they don't buy, they can also be an additional source for referring people. So that you are able to create that relationship of getting them to be an affiliate or referral just for the mere fact of spending time with them. And so I get the point. And men, having this challenge of saying, how to, go directly for the sale compared to, spending time to create that relationship. What do you suggest, that men do in order to, fix that issue that they have? It's a trait that we have, and how do we fix that?
Well, you have to know who your client is. Once you start talking to them, and especially if it's a woman, and you start asking her these yes and no questions, you're going to see that her answers are going to be also these, monosyllabic answers. Yep, nope, yep, nope. And that means that you're not building a relationship. So you need to actually go out of your comfort zone and start asking her a question that's going to give her time to give you back some feedback. And yep, it's a little uncomfortable for a man in the beginning, but once you get the hang of it, you're probably going to be working straight on referrals going forward. Because again, a woman is going to refer people to you and they're going to stay a loyal customer with you. So you just have to learn to ask the right questions. And I always tell people, pretend you're a talk show host. If you were on Oprah Winfrey's last show and she said to you, Owen, you're my last guest, are you excited? You're going to say yes or no. But if she said to you, Owen, you're my guest, and I saved the best for last, tell me the most exciting thing you've done in the last 10 years. Is that a different answer for her? Absolutely. That's what a man has to do. They have to be able to spend the time up front to get somebody to talk to them to build a relationship. Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. And so for me now, I'm trying to figure out, okay, where next do I go with this interview so that I can learn, just by us talking right now, apply some of the ideas you're talking about in regards to building relationship. So where next? I'm diving in just based for the answers, but you're saying spend time and try and wiggle out some more details. So using us as the case study, where else do you think will make the most sense for us to discuss in this interview?
Pieces to the puzzle. There's also, like body language and the way that you communicate with a man or a woman. When men get together, they actually stand shoulder to shoulder because that's just how guys hang out with each other. And they don't necessarily give a lot of eye contact. When females get together, they look straight on at each other. There's a lot of eye contact. They face each other and they take everything in with their eyes and their ears. So the next step would be to actually watch the body language. As a man, if you were selling me a product, and you're talking, I am naturally going to be nodding my head and going, That does not mean that I agree with you. It just means that I want to let you know that I'm aligned with you, that I'm hearing you. Now, let's reverse it. If I'm telling you something, you're going to be straight on. You're not going to shake your head. You're not going to say, uh-huh. And so I'm going to think that I don't have a chance with you because you're not even listening to me. So what the next step would be to observe body language and just see what happens. And I'm telling you, go and talk to, if you're married, a wife or a girlfriend or a friend, talk to another female and just watch what she does when you're talking to her, because she's going to be shaking her head and going, uh-huh. As a salesperson, you just have to know the things that she's listening. It doesn't mean that she's ready to buy. And that's the mistake that a lot of male salespeople do. They see that uh-huh, or they hear the uh-huh, and then automatically they take out their application and start writing it out. When in reality, the woman's not ready to do it. So you have to ask the questions, listen, and observe body language. That would be the next step.
And for, because the thing now is you're talking about how the men can engage when they're talking to maybe a client, a potential client who is the female, right? And so you have to be able to be communicative and express fully what you're talking about. But on the other on the other side, where your client now is the guy, knowing fully well how they communicate and how they engage, is there going to be a difference on how you interact with them, or are you still going to follow that same goal of trying to build that relationship, I guess?
Well, I think that building the relationship is important no matter who it is, male or female. I think it's really important. What you will find is that there's going to be exceptions to the rule. You're going to say, well, she told me to build relationships. I'm here talking to this woman who just wants to get to the bottom line, because there's a lot of women that, like I said, are transactional. They don't care about this relationship. All they want to do is get the product that you're there for and be done with it. So you have to take your lead from your client. But 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you that women want to build that relationship. Whether you're selling a product, whether you're interviewing for a job, whatever it is, they want to build a long-term relationship with you. Women want to feel connected. They want to feel like they have a home. They want to see what happens in the big picture. They want to know the answers to everything. And trust me when I tell you that women ask 3 times more questions than men. And that's okay, because they want to get all the information. Men, on the flip side, they want the beginning and the end of a story. They don't care about the middle. If they want to know about it, they'll ask you for it. So you have to really take your lead from whomever you're talking to. There's a lot of men that want to hear every gory detail, and that's okay. Take your lead from them.
That's so true, because sometimes, when I'm having a conversation, I just want to get to the meat of the story as opposed to going all around, and I see what you're saying. And the thing is, you said that because this is generalization, but at the end of the day, you might find women who would just want to be, transactional and just, get to the meat of the story itself.
Exactly.
My thing is, as the salesperson, what are those key things that from the very onset of the conversation can tell you the triggers as to how to go with this transaction or how to go with this communication with this person, so that you can easily flip between styles. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it would start with just asking the questions. If you asked an open-ended question and you got back this short snippet of an answer, and you asked another one, you got the same thing, you might try to go back to the more male questions, which would be the closed-ended questions, just to gather information. You'll know right away. And the same thing the other way around. If you ask a man a yes or no question and he gives you a long story, then he's more likely to be more relational and would want to talk more. So you very beginning. And it also depends on a mood. You don't know what you just walked into when you're going to sell something. You might think that this person is the nicest person, and all of a sudden they come out with this, this arrogant attitude, because you don't know that they just had a fight with their spouse. You don't know what goes on before you get to that appointment. So you have to take your cues from them. Once you start asking questions, you'll get it all. You'll see right away what you're in store for.
And definitely, and one of the things I find out with this, especially if you're in the B2B, it's kind of like the sales cycle is kind of, you get them as a warm lead, as a cold lead, move them to warm, and just build that relationship with them and gradually get them to the sale. And now I'm trying to figure out, using your process, what is the quickest way for us to get this person to be in a sale as opposed to just a cold lead?
Well, again, just once you start building a relationship, male or female, the sales process is going to take longer. So don't go by length of time. You want the outcome. No matter what, the outcome is that you want to close the deal. That's what sales is all about. But it's how you get there. So if you start to say, well, if I build a relationship, it's going to take twice as long or 3 times as long, and I don't have the time because I have goals and I want to make X amount of sales today, and building a relationship it just takes too long. It is so worth the investment because that one person that you took the time to spend with building that relationship can become a huge center of influence for you. I'll give you a perfect example. I was on an appointment one time many years ago, and this woman never, ever looked up at me. She told me to sit down. She said, sit down and start talking. That was how my conversation started. There was no report.
Wow.
Right. And so I started to go over the whole presentation, and I'm thinking, oh my God, she is the rudest person I have ever met. Saying this to myself. When I was finished with what I had to say to her, I asked her questions. She like barked answers at me, one-word answers. When I was done, she said to me, who do I make the check out to? Okay, so I realized she was listening, just not the way I would want somebody to listen. And we did do the deal. When we were all done, she looked up at me and she said, I know that you thought I was the rudest person. And I'm thinking, oh my God, did I say that out loud? I only was thinking. And she said, what I was doing is, she said, as soon as you walked in the door, I knew I could trust you. Now, I don't know how that worked because she never really looked up at me. And she said, so what I was doing is I was writing out a list of referrals for you, and I'm going to call each one and tell them to expect your call. Okay? So here's what happened. She was not a relationship person whatsoever. However, she still thought enough to give me referral. I did what I was supposed to do. I asked her questions, I listened to what she wanted, and I gave her the solution that she was looking for. So in reality, you have no idea the person that you're talking to, even if it takes more time, who's going to become the center of influence. She gave me 25 referrals.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you take the time to build a relationship, it is so worth the investment. And it's the salespeople, male and female, that are the slam, bam, thank you, ma'am, get in, get out, and get the check, that are going to lose. They might get the sales up front, but it's very short-sighted because they don't have anything in the back. They don't have this long-term relationship. And if this person needs something else, they'll call anybody they want. With me, she's going to call me because I spent the time with her. The same way, I would go in, I sold health insurance. I went into somebody who clearly would not qualify. He had an oxygen tank. He clearly would not qualify. Yet I went through the whole deal. I built a relationship. And he referred me out to a number of people because I spent the time and I took the time. And that's all this is. It's building a relationship for long-term commitment.
I like how you're making your points very clear by even going in and telling me stories from the past that make the point clearer. And now we're in a world where we have a lot of technology that allows us, I think it kind of takes one away from actually having to be in front of someone and actually communicating with them. You
Right.
have all this social media and all this different technology from your own spot. You can broadcast your message to millions of people, and not really be in contact with them. So now that you're saying really create relationships with them, how can we leverage technology that we have to still be able to create relationships with these people, even though we're not in front of them physically, I guess?
Okay, well, you do know that social media is all based on building relationships. And that is a female function. Okay, it plays off the strengths of females, building relationships. And women spend 30% more time on social media, on the sites, than men. 30% more time. In fact, women spend an average of 5.5 hours a day doing social media.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, I have to do a lot of research on male-female things, and that's huge. So some of the things that you want to do is, concentrate on the places that women go to. Depending on what you sell, and I don't know, not everybody is going to sell a product. They might sell a service. But there's lots of things you could do. You can join, online groups, whether it's Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. Join a group that has an interest in what you're doing. Because once you join that group, now people have access to you. You can do, like you're doing, you can do a blog and just put the keywords out there that would entice women if that's what you're looking for. I told you that. I do things that concentrate on amazing women. And so when I put things out there, it's going to be a keyword that somebody might look for. Women in business, women, female entrepreneurs, things like that. When I concentrate on males, it might be more like recruiting women. So it's, when you're on social media, there's a million things that you could do that will attract the group you want to attract. And if you're trying to attract women, you've got it made. because it's all based on building relationships. The whole thing is based on building relationships.
And one of the things that I think a lot of people make as a mistake with social media is just going there to try and sell, sell, sell,
No, don't
and
do that.
and like you're saying, it's really about creating those relationships. And I think another thing too is really the fact that a lot of people want to always tie like an ROI, like a return on income, on every activity that they do in business. And this whole thing of creating relationship is not easy for one to really attach a return on investment immediately to that time spent in creating the relationships. And I guess one has to figure out a way to be able to is there a way to create kind of metrics around engagements that you have with people and relationships that you create with them, even though it's long term?
I don't know enough about building matrix on social media. That's why I have somebody on my team that would do that, because I have no clue. But what I would say is I always keep a pretty detailed entry on every single thing that I do as far as social media or as far as networking, who I meet, where I meet them, and what we have a conversation about. And you can actually just go back and say, well, I was at this networking event and I met, 17 people. Of the 17 people, I got 9 one-on-ones with them. And of the 9, I booked 3 jobs. So it's as simple as that. When you go into social media, there are ways of collecting the data. I wish I could tell you. I wish I was that well versed, but my social media guru, he is the one that does it, because I don't have a clue. But I will tell you that there's a lot of relationships that I build online. I have a huge relationship with somebody that has a website for women. She has over 30 followers, and we were introduced online by somebody else, and we just built this relationship, and now we both do affiliate partnerships with each other, and I refer everybody to her and she refers people to me. And when my book came out, she did a whole spread on my book on her website, because we built this relationship. It's just as possible to do relationships without ever meeting someone as when you're face to face with them, if you do it correctly.
And that's a good point you made, because I keep hearing how when they say make use of social media, they say you want to engage there as kind of like being a resource and just providing good information without necessarily trying to key in and say. So for instance, you meet somebody, it's really about how you can help them as opposed to how they can help you.
Right, and you just made a perfect point there. You don't ever want to say, I need your help. I want you to help me do this. I want you to introduce me. You never do that, because if people get it right, you want to say, how can I help you? How can I build your business? How can I take you to the next level? And you know what happens? As a byproduct, they do it for you. And I'll give you a perfect example. I met somebody today that we actually did a workshop together, and we were just going to meet today. She had it in her head. She told me this, that because she's been in business twice as long as I am, she thought I was going to come there with a list of questions about how to do this, how do you get that, how do you do this? And in reality, it was exactly the opposite. I gave her so many connections today that she was blown away, because I didn't ask for anything, nothing. I just knew that what she does, I have a lot of contacts for. And so just because I didn't ask, she was amazed. So that's what I'm saying. If you just give, you're going to get back. I promise you, 10 times.
And it's I see how it correlates with your point of really that spending that time to find out what their need is, because you can't really give without really knowing what their needs is, I guess. So you have to indeed spend that time to know what their need is. I really like the way you articulate everything for us, and I really appreciate the time you spent on this interview. And I'm curious, how best for my audience who's been listening so far, how best can they get a hold of you?
Well, you can go onto my website, which is www.sellinginaskirt.com. You can email me at judy@sellinginaskirt. You can I'm on Twitter, Selling in a Skirt. I'm on LinkedIn, Selling in a Skirt, Judy Hoberman. You can go any way you want.
And just Google Selling in a Skirt and they find you.
You can find me. Yes, I'm everywhere. And, and I do have a newsletter that we put out that has sales tips on it, or interesting information that you can sign up for free. I do have an ebook. I do have a book. I have all kinds of things that'll help. And then, of course, you can download my brochure and see what all the other things that I do, because I do coaching and workshops and I do keynote speaking, and I just have a lot of fun doing it, because what I do is I build a relationship everywhere I go. That's the only thing. And I've done it for you. I did it before networking was even a word.
Thank you very much for doing the interview. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And with welcome back. I hope you enjoyed today's interview. And before you go, I want you to do me a favor. I'm trying to build my community of entrepreneurs who find my content useful on Facebook so we can engage, have discussions live right there on Facebook. And to get to my page on Facebook, you go to www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And again, it's www.com. What am I saying? No, it's www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And when you get there, what you're going to do is look for the a button that says like, and you click on that button, and then basically you become a fan of the page. It's that simple. You don't even have to leave me your email. Just click on the button that says like. And again, the page to go to is www.facebook.com/HYVASSISTANT. And that stands for HYVAssistant. Real easy. I look forward to seeing you on Facebook. Have a great day.